What's good, Wizards fans? It's your host, the Real Ed Oliver and Brandon Scott. Today, we're going to answer a mailbag question and we're going to look back on our summer 2022 hot takes on the season. We're going to see how good or how bad our predictions for the season were. And also, talk a little bit about how a former Washington Wizard played in the Lakers versus Grizzlies game and what he had to say that kind of might have thrown some shade at the Washington Wizards. Let's get to it. Let's get started.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so I guess we'll start talking about the former Wizard, and then also I do want to talk about the lottery odds. There is supposed to be a coin flip on Monday between the Wizards and the Pacers. We both finished tied for the seventh best lottery odds, but they figured that out with a coin flip. But yesterday, the Lakers, they played against the Grizzlies. Rui had a heck of a game. He had, 29 points. I think there was a stat where it showed the last player to come off the bench and score 25 for the Lakers in a playoff game was Magic Johnson. So for him to be in the same, stat category with a future minority owner in Magic Johnson of the Commanders is very, very good for Rui Hachimura. But this is the quote that stood out to me. From yesterday after the game, he says, quote, "Since I got here, this team really believes in me. It makes me very confident and comfortable," end quote. And I know a lot of people, they may not care about Rui since he's not on the Wizards anymore, but I know on social media, a lot of people are going back and forth about how things ended with Rui and the return that we got for Rui Hachimura. So what were your thoughts on his performance and, of course, the return and the trade? And if do you think things could have ended differently with Rui in DC anyhow, somehow? Of course, the contract situation, they had to choose between Kuz and Rui, so we kind of knew how it was going to end.
Man, it's another egg in the face of Tommy Sheppard, man. I mean, that's just another hit. If you look at it, his comments kind of, they say a lot. And we've heard these comments before with young players drafted by the organization. We've heard, comments, these type of comments were kind of intermeshed with comments made by Kyle Kuzma, Spencer Dinwiddie. So this is not the first time hearing this. It's just, it continues to echo the sentiment that a lot of former players or even current players have about this organization, which is they kind of have tunnel vision when it comes to priority, when it comes to plays for players. Certain players kind of push ahead of the line when it comes to, as far as being a priority. And again, it just shows the lack of vision, the lack of not knowing the roles for the personnel that you have in your organization. I think that with Rui Hachimura, man, we failed him because he never had a defined role. Every year he had a different, every year he was trying to find his way into this offense, and he just couldn't find a role. Obviously we know what the shortcomings was. He could, defensively he was just, he was all right, but on the offensive end, he could become a black hole. He's very ISO dominant, very ball dominant, but you cannot take away from the fact that he is a stone cold shooter, man. I mean, the homeboy can play, man. He can score. And that's what we're missing from this second unit, man. We said it, so I'm gonna get on the trade. Terrible trade. And again, this echoes that terrible trade. You got a player in return that barely plays. When he does play, he's just, the ball is a black hole in his hands. He becomes a non-factor. 2 second rounders, but even one's in the back end of the second round. So at that point, with those type of picks, you're looking at a developmental guy or a guy overseas. So I don't see really what we got for him, especially with his performance, man. We could have got more. I feel like the trade was rushed, especially, how many weeks was it before the deadline? He could have waited on a little bit and
Right.
kind of find the best package out there. I feel like he rushed it. Especially, I know there was turmoil, Rui wanted to leave, and, there's turmoil in the locker room, but, still, man, as GM, you got to find the best package out there. You control what, personnel, and personnel don't control what you got going on. And that's just the way it's supposed to be with a GM in the NBA. You control what's going on with personnel. And I feel like he should have set on and found a better trade. But, Yeah, it's sad, man, because Rui, he should be in DC. I know a lot of people are saying, he's a Laker now. I get it. He should be a Wizard. He's just, we needed him for this stretch run. And I firmly believe, man, two things. Number one, I truly do not believe that Rui Hachimura was infringing on Denny Avia's minutes or his progression. I just don't believe that. I feel like they could play well. They played well together. I mean, there was times when on this show we said it. They played well together on the second unit. So I don't buy that. And two is just, man, I just that one point alone is just enough for me. It's just it didn't make any sense. The trade was just rushed, and so yeah, I'm not a fan of the trade, and it echoes the same sentiment about this franchise, which is dysfunction, and it's just unfortunate, man. Especially when you hear from former players and current players alike. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it, man. It's concerning a little bit because you're looking at Tommy Sheppard and you're looking at Wes Unseld. Those are the two people you're looking at, and especially with them coming back next year, the microscope is even more on Tommy Sheppard and Wes Unseld because of those comments. Because now they got to change some things about themselves, about the culture of this team, about prioritizing certain players, especially bringing back Kuzma and KP. You got to be able to find a way to get KP and Kuzma into this offense. Let the offense flow through one of them, but things got to change in DC. So that's where I'm at. It was very concerning, and his comments rang true to a lot of people in his organization. So.
Yeah, it's concerning to say that, since he got here, the team really believes in him. So he made it a point to really kind of throw a shot at the Wizards organization. He requested a trade. He wanted to start. He wanted to get more minutes. He wanted to get more shots. Yeah, he's a great scorer. Like you said, we wanted to see him rebound more and defend more. But once he left, the scoring off the bench, it really went down. It definitely hurt us throughout that stretch of the season. We were trying to make that play-in/playoff push. It's funny because the game before he got traded, he had 30 points against the Magic. He had 30 points earlier in the season as well. So that was funny too. Yeah, the return that we got, I thought we could have done better. Of course, probably weren't going to get a first-round pick. I know at first Tommy wanted to trade Rui for Jay Crowder, so that would have been probably even worse trade than what we got. We got 3 second-round picks and none. Somebody who's a non-factor who's not going to be back next season, who didn't play well at all. So Tommy had a rough year with trades. Trading Monte Morris and Will Barton for KCP, and then the Rui for Kendrick Nunn trade. He also says that he added watching film with assistant coach Phil Handy, who has been huge. So I don't know if that's a shot saying that the coaches didn't watch film. Of course, the coaches watch film with him, but yeah, you hate to see another guy be successful on a playoff team and potentially win a ring and put up numbers like that when you clearly see that you needed that on the Wizards. But I think it wasn't to at the same time. We knew that Rui was not going to be back next year because they were going to make a decision between him and Kuz. And, of course, the year before that, him missing the games with personal problems where he missed 40 games, I do think that hurt him as well in his development. And, he could have started that year. He started, of course, the year with Westbrook, started his rookie season. And then that third year, he missed so many games. So that was a setback as well. Looked like he kind of fell out of favor with Wes Unseld Jr. And like you said, with the lineups, he didn't have to just be subjected to a 6-man. Some games, maybe you could try him as a starter. You could play him, Denny, and Kuz at the same time. I don't think we saw enough of that lineup as well, where you had long wings who could, just be active and finish around the rim and defend. I don't think we saw that enough, and using Rui correctly as well. So some of it, yeah, it was on him, missing the 40 games. Defense wasn't great. Like you said, black hole, mid-range assassin, didn't really want to pass the ball. But at the same time, he is very talented. I think out of all the young guys, I think he had the most upside, the most talent, and he's doing this next to LeBron, next to Anthony Davis in a big game against the Grizzlies in a hostile environment where the Grizzlies they're the higher seed. They were the favorite team, and they were down at one point. And Rui and Austin Reeves had big games. So yeah, this is another indictment on Tommy. He's not on thin ice, but when you win, you haven't won more than 35 games. You have a former first-round pick. You trade him for 3 second-round picks and a guy like Nunn, and he plays well on another team. It's kind of like another X mark on Tommy Sheppard's tenure here, in my opinion. Yes, and I know Rui is. I know some people in the comments are gonna be like, "Oh, Rui's not all this and that." That's what they say all the time. But he was a big help, and yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's gonna be another Wizard. You look at all the Wizards that leave and get better. Bobby Portis on the championship team now. Gary Payton II was here. He won a championship with the Warriors. You can go back to Ben Wallace and Juwan Howard or Rip Hamilton and Ben Wallace. And that's not Tommy Sheppard's tenure, but still the Wizards organization, just too many guys leave here and they get better, and they're very successful with other teams. So you look at Rui, and he's added to the list with the Lakers now.
Yeah, but you know what? Tommy Sheppard should be on thin ice because I'm saying why? Because his moves are the reason why they didn't make the playoffs or the play-in. Because think about it. You know, their whole vision this year, which we shook our head at and just laughed at it because it was just the craziest, was play-in tournament. But why didn't they make it? Why did they fall in the second half of the season? Well, number one, you didn't have a bench score. I mean, that trade alone just killed it for the second half. And then looking at Monte Morris and Will the Thrill, the whole MO this season was getting better on defense and three-point shooting. Well, you traded that away with KCP, which was really at the time outside of Denny was our best defender. And he shot, I don't have the stats in front of me, but he shot at a high percentage last season with the Wizards from 3-point. So again, both trades took away exactly what we needed the most. And that's the biggest thing about those trades is like the thing you needed most, you gave it away. But then on the flip side, you're preaching, oh, well, we're win now. Well, you gave away the two most important. Look, I'll be real with you. KCP and Rui are probably the two most important pieces we lost. Because look at where we at. Defensively, we went down outside of DeLon. We see how important DeLon is. But, and then bench scoring went down. So those two trades, they defined this year for Tommy. And a lot on this season is on Tommy. Wes has a lot of, West has a piece of it, and obviously the players, but his trades were trash this season. Trash. I mean, they weren't good at all. Let's look at them. They were trash. We didn't get anything back in return that you can really say is part of the future. Monte's, I mean, he's going to be bounced out of here in a year. I mean, he's not a long-term piece. Will the Thrill's already gone. I mean, it's just it's abysmal, man. The trades are terrible, and then really, and I hate to be like this, man, but when you look at abysmal trades, it makes you look at other trades. Was the KP trade really on him? Or was it kind of like, hey, we got a player that's really injured. You got a scrub and Bertans, and you got crypto guy and Spencer Dinwiddie. Let's trade problems. Because look, at the time, and I hate to call it KP a problem, but in Dallas, he had a little friction with Luka. They didn't exactly fit in with each other. There was a little bit of friction in the locker room between those two because it was two alpha dogs, where obviously it was Luka's team and KP coming over where he was kind of the alpha dog after Carmelo leaving the Knicks, being a guy in New York. So there was a little friction in Dallas. So was it problem being traded for a problem? It makes you look at other moves because, at first I thought I was a big fan of the KP trade. Even a Daniel Gafford trade from Chicago is money, but then flip it around. Troy Brown, we're responsible for him, really slowing down his progression because again, what was his role in DC? Can anybody tell me what his role was? He didn't have a role, and that's just, it's crazy to me, man, because again and again, we hear the same noise coming out of this organization, which is they have no vision and nobody has a role. Nobody knows what they're doing. And it's just, And to me, it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating because you're watching dysfunction and you're having players who are currently on your roster. Kyle Kuzma saying is dysfunctional. You're having former players, Spencer Dinwiddie, Bertans, that said things. I mean, you've heard things from OGs like Gilbert Arenas that said things about the organization. Excuse me. John Wall said. I mean, the list goes on, man. After a while, you got to wonder. Not all of them have an issue where they're just going to come out with some noise. There's going to be some truth to that. And so, it's just when you have this many players that continue to echo the same sentiment, which is this organization is happy being mediocre with no vision. And again, it's just another player saying it. So it's sad, man. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It is unfortunate. You saw Rui get better from the 3-point line last year, and this year he was scoring really well. Like you said, another guy we could have used. And speaking of the trades too, KP for Bertans and Dinwiddie, and we got a second round pick. That was a great trade, of course, but like you said, it was a distressed asset, and Porzingis just didn't work out in Dallas. Then the Russell Westbrook trade, we got Dinwiddie back. It didn't work out. Montrezl Harrell didn't work out. But Russell Westbrook, he asked for a trade. He wanted to go to LA. He wanted to play with LeBron. So really, Tommy had no choice. So it's not like Tommy really manufactured the trade and just brought it up himself. It started because he was going to run a runner back with Russ. If Russ didn't request a trade. So, Tommy Sheppard's trade, you do have to look at him differently now. You really do, especially the way that things have worked out. Like you said, the KCP trade hasn't worked. Will Barnes not even here right now. So, but I'll end it here. I wish Rui the best. He's going to play really well. He's going to have a good series, of course. And I think he's going to be a great player for years to come. I think he's going to be really solid scorer in this league for sure. So I'm definitely happy for Rui. For sure. And like you said, the Denny minutes, just to get minutes for Denny, I didn't like that excuse or reasoning. Yes, Rui did request a trade. He didn't want to be here. So it is what it is on that. And like I said, just let bygones be bygones. I wish the guy the best. So, all right, we're going to get to the one mailbag question we have today. But before we do get to that, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There was a time where I struggled buying tickets for the DC Defenders game, but I used Game Time to get them. The Defenders are now 8-1. It's always a packed house. They're going to the playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Game Time makes it easier for you to buy tickets. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time app guarantee means you'll always get the best price if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code of LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so the one mailbag question that we have for today is from Paul Robinson. This is a loaded question, so we're probably going to have to break this question up in a couple episodes. He said, is the Wizards going to be shaken up again since they missing the playoffs again? Shaking my head. Who's leaving and who's staying? We'll probably do that later on who's leaving and staying. Very disappointing watching your favorite team all 82 games and not making the playoffs. Shaking my head. Nothing to look forward to. What's your thoughts on what Paul said?
Woo! All right. Who stays, who goes, right? I'm gonna shake it up a little bit, man. I'm gonna do what I would do if I was GM, and I'm gonna do what they're gonna do. And I'm gonna roll. First, I'm gonna go with what they're gonna do. I don't see them shaking it up too much, but I do see a trade. Obviously, I do think they're gonna bring back Kuzma, KP. They're gonna run it back with the solid 3. Daniel Gafford's back on an extension, and then you got Monte and DeLon on expiring contracts, and then you got the young guys, Denny on expiring contract, and Kispert and Johnny Davis. So, this draft, man, it's loaded, but you can we have 2 big needs, which is 3D wing and point guard. You can only fulfill 1. So if you get a point guard, either way, I think the trade is going to be either they're going to package Monte and Denny and maybe a second rounder and try to go get a 3D wing. So whatever we didn't get in the draft, I do solidly think they're going to try to move a couple of aspiring contracts and try to get the other position. Because looking at the draft, man, if you're in a position to get Cam Whitmore, you grab him. But if you can't get him, homeboy Ant Black, man, I'm trying to tell you, and Casey Wallace, man. So yeah, that's how I think is going to come out, man. I think that's how the offseason is going to roll. Because look at it, man, you don't really need to make too many moves if you're bringing back the solid 3, because look, one, you got the G League guys. You got Jordan Goodwin, he's here, ready for the NBA, man. Same thing with Quinn Jackson. He's here. So utilize those 2 guys. You got Jay Huff. So, we don't have to really make too many moves, but I think that's what's going to happen, man, with this offseason. There's not going to be too much of a shakeup. I think that, we're going to grab somebody in the draft, and whatever position we have a need, whether it's 3D wing or point guard, they're going to move a couple of aspirants to get them. So, as far as me, what would I do? What would I do? Easy. What I believed all year, man, I would let KP and Kuz walk. I would ask Bill where he wants to go. I would keep Gaff. I would package Denny into a couple second rounders, get another first round pick. And I would use these young guys like Johnny Davis and Corey Kispert, see where they're at, and I would go young. I would rebuild this team, and that's just the way that's what I would roll with. Because, my firm belief is, can this solid 3 be good enough to compete in the East to a certain degree? Yes, but I don't think it's a championship contender. And I think that the easiest way for this championship to get their first championship, or this franchise to get their first championship since 1970s, would be to rebuild the team, start from scratch. But obviously I'm not the GM, so yeah, they're going to run it back, and I see it maybe a trade, but I don't see much else, man.
Yeah, they're definitely going to run it back. Tommy Sheppard has said that numerous times, or reports have come out numerous times saying that they want these guys back. They want to run it back to solid 3. There's already talks about an extension with Porzingis. They already talked about contracts with Kyle Kuzma as well. So we know those guys are coming back. They're not going to shake it up too much. They just don't have the contract space, or they're $8 million below the luxury tax right now where they are, and they haven't even given Kuzma his big deal yet, and they haven't even extended Porzingis yet. So they just don't have much wiggle room at all. They're going to have to really rely on their young guys to make a leap, in my opinion. Like Danny's going to have to make a leap. Corey's going to have to make a leap, and Johnny's going to have to, contribute and have meaningful minutes. And then they're really going to have to rely on their rookie pick as well. Now, as far as trades, I actually did look at some guys because Faisal Hassan, who asked the question, what would help the middle build? I actually came up with a couple names that we could trade for. We can talk about trades later on. Maybe a point guard. But like you said in the draft, Cason Wallace, maybe the Thompson twins. They're not point guards, but they would definitely bring some athleticism. Cam Whitmore would help. Anthony Black. I do like Cason Wallace a lot. I do like Keontae George out of Baylor. But some of the guys that I think that they could come back to that they had interest in before that sound a little bit realistic, that won't break the bank, but they possibly could trade for, like Emmanuel Quickly from the Knicks. I just don't see the Knicks moving on from him. Malcolm Brogdon, maybe they could go back to him, but the Celtics, they really like him. Once again, if you get those guys, you're still in the play-in or not making the playoffs kind of range. Markelle Fultz, I think the Magic, they want to keep him, but he would be a good point guard addition. 3-and-D guys, I remember they're interested in Sadiq Bey before the trade deadline. So that's a shooter that could come in and knock down threes and defend a little bit, still on a rookie deal. Chris Duarte, remember Troy Halliburton came on the show and he said they were interested in Chris Duarte. He could come off the bench and provide some scoring for the Wizards. So Jayshawn Tate from the Rockets, they were interested in him. So those are guys that could possibly come in. So that's answering Faisal's question. But they're not going to shake this up, Paul Robinson. They're going to run it back. That's what they want to do. They believe in a solid three. And Tommy Sheppard, Ted Leonsis, they want to get the 2 home playoff games if they can to make a profit, or a home playing game if they can to make a profit. So they're not gonna shake anything up or blow this thing up. Bill, they're gonna try to build around Bill. Porzingis and Kuz going to be back, but like I would kind of piggyback off what you would do, Brandon. Rebuild, start fresh. This is a good draft coming up. I think they definitely should have tried to retool a little bit earlier than what they did. Of course, they were still in the playoff run, but they definitely should have lost every game possible to finish the season out so they could get better odds to even get a top 4 pick. In my opinion, I think that makes a pretty big difference. But I think there's some good guys pick 1 through 10. So that's how I feel about that, Paul, man. Very disappointed once again. You're watching your favorite team all 82 games and not making the playoffs, shaking my head. Nothing to look forward to. Tommy Sheppard's 10-year, he has not won more than 35 games. Like I said, Paul, once again, we haven't made it past the second round since 1979. They didn't make the playoffs. And you're going to pay all 3 guys and run it back and pay them $100 million and possibly go into the luxury tax. And you didn't make the playoffs last year or the play-in last year. So it's just questionable decisions by the front office for sure.
I mean, it's questionable, but it's also mind-raking, man, because he's famous for saying he's not going to go into the luxury tax, but he's going to have to. It's just they say one thing and they do a whole nother thing. It's just that's what confuses a lot of fans, man. You tell us you don't want to tank, but I'm not the smartest dude, man, but I'm pretty sure those last games they were tanking. So, it's just I don't know, man. It's just again, a lack of vision and a lack of just when you say lack of not knowing your role, it goes up all the way to the top, man. I mean, really, does Tommy know what he's at? I mean, what's the state of the franchise according to this ownership? Are we a contender? Are we a playoff team? What are we? I mean, are we a retooling? Are we, that's the thing. You don't know what the state of the franchise even is. If we rebuild, and that's where I'm at, man. It's just, we just need some competency in this franchise, man, as far as the front office and ownership, because, like I said, they tell you one thing and then, you're going to pay all 3. And like you just said, E, this solid 3 got you, but so far. So, but you're going to invest probably 90 to 95% in the cap to these 3 guys. So, yeah, that I think this is the biggest thing that really irks a lot of fans is that, if you look at most of the fan base, they're asking for a rebuild. And, there's a very, I know people say that the silent minority is the people that want to rebuild, but that's, come on, man. Most people I talk to want to rebuild. I'm just saying. So, it's just, they want to go one way and the fan base wants to go another. And unfortunately, They got to step up because I'm telling you, if the egg is in their faces in 1 to 2 years, it ain't looking good, man. Because the fan base is going to start to get nasty. I'm just saying. So the ball's in their court, man. You know, if they really want to go forward with the solid 3, they have to perform, man. They really have to become a contender in the Eastern Conference. So,
yeah, definitely. So, yeah, we're gonna get a quick word from Brandon, and we're gonna probably do 1 or 2 hot takes and then wrap it up for today.
Cool. All right, y'all. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. So you're asking, how does it work? Well, you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they go and score more or less than the Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. That is right, 25 times your money. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you can watch. That includes the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NHL, PGA Golf, college football, men's and women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, NASCAR, tennis, mixed martial arts, boxing, disc golf, good God, Euro basketball, cricket, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. I'm trying to tell you. Safe and fast withdrawals. Currently operational over 30 states and our neighbors to north in Canada. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. So,
all right, we'll do the first hot take. This one is pretty simple. And you guys might laugh at a couple of these. Let me find it because I know I texted to you, Brandon. But I know the first one was really about the playoffs. So this is from No Breaks New on Twitter. I've been on his channel and his podcast before. He said the Wizards would make the second round of the playoffs. And I said that I did not agree with that, but I said they could make the playoffs. Brandon, I think you said that they could make the first round as well. But of course, they did not make the second round. They weren't even close to that. They didn't make the plan. Another hot take is Brandon said that Bradley Beal would have an all NBA season. What were your thoughts about that?
Man, I got to go back and check my cup. I mean, man, really, honestly, I thought that was possible in the beginning of the year, man. I thought that he was really going to come in there because I thought he was, with signing that Supermax, I thought he was going to be very motivated, trying to be a team leader, trying to be that franchise guy. And, I said it all year long, man. When Bradley Beal steps back and becomes that scorer and not the guy bouncing the ball off his foot, then he could very easy accomplish that. He could have been an all-star, but they gotta really define roles, and it goes back to what we were just talking about, defining roles. You know what I'm saying? He's got to go back to that score. He has no business bringing the ball up. And that's another reason why we need a point guard in DC, because we need a solid point guard. No more bringing the ball up. So, yeah, I know, man. It's just one of those things. Injuries and not having a defined role got him, man. So.
Yeah, I mean, he had a good season, but once again, he missed games. And that's why it's hard to believe when Tommy Sheppard said that Bradley Beal was in his prime when he played 50 games this year, 40 games in 2022. 2021, he played a good amount of games, 60 games, but 2020, he played 57. Of course, the virus year. 2019-18, he played 82 games both of those seasons, but the next 4 years, he hasn't played over 60 games, health and safety protocols, a couple injuries here and there. The hand injury the season where we traded for Porzingis, and then this year had a couple injuries, nagging injuries here and there, missing games. So it's hard to say somebody's in their prime and they're missing that amount of games from Tommy Sheppard. So if he didn't miss that amount of games, we won games, like you said, as well, being better in the clutch. I think he probably could have made at least the All-Star game. But his shooting percentages were really good this year. 84% from the free throw line. He's always been a good free throw shooter. He did shoot the ball a lot better from the three-point line, 36% from the three-point line, and 55% from the field as well. So, I mean, he had shooting the ball. He had a good season. He always has a solid season shooting the ball. I mean, he was pretty bad from the three-point line, but this year was a lot better. But, yeah, he just wasn't close to All-NBA. I mean, especially when your team is playing the way they're playing. And, like I said, overall, he had a solid season shooting the ball. But you just got to be available, and you have to be the deciding factors in winning games and finishing games. Too many games were just left on the table. A Hawks game where he goes down and shoots the ball off the backboard. The Hornets game where he had a good game, but We ended up losing that game because he lost the ball off his foot. The Miami Heat game in Miami, he lost the ball on his foot as well. Too many games that I can count on the top of my head where it's coming down to a last second shot and he's losing the basketball. So, but yeah, I mean, he's been all NBA before in the 2021 season, but this year just not quite. Just too many games missed. So, but yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll get to my bad hot takes in episode. But we want to thank you guys for listening once again and making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now, for tomorrow on the show, make sure you guys listen to my bad hot takes. And we're going to do a couple mailbag episodes, and we're going to do some grades of players. We're going to grade every player on the team, and we're going to grade players as well, and coaches as well. We're going to grade some Wes Unseld Jr. and, of course, Tommy Sheppard. So stay tuned for that. So that should be a lot of fun. All right, you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Hell to the Wizards. Peace.